Namaskaram. Welcome to Clyde Samvada, brought to you by the Hindu Temple of Scotland. And today we have Dr. Sreevas with us. Today we will be talking about Sankalpa. So Sankalpa is one of the very first steps which one does while doing a pooja. So we will be breaking down the science of Sankalpa, what Sankalpa is, just to make it a better understanding so that an age from, I would say, 10 years to any old person can understand how and why the things are to be done. So Dr. Sreevas, can you please enlighten us on what Sankalpa is and how it all works?
Thank you, Rishabhji. Namaste. Welcome all to the Clyde Samvada. So Sankalpa, as we discussed, is one of the first steps in doing a Devata Puja. So definitionally, English definition to Sankalpa would be determined inclination to do something. Okay. In this case, the something is doing a puja, but determined inclination. We can think about Sankalpa as a 5 W's model. Okay, it's who, what, why, where, and when. Answer to these 5 W's is what Sankalpa basically is.
Okay.
So let's start with who, which is probably the easiest, right? So if you are, let's say, the doer of the puja, then you are basically taking your name and saying I, X, Y, Z is doing something. When we're doing this Devata Puja, along with the name, we typically also take the nakshatra or the Janma nakshatra, as in birth star. So when we were born on a particular day, and on that day, the star in the constellation would have been a particular star, and that star is our birth star or Janma nakshatra.
Okay.
So along with the name, when we take identity of a person in the Hindu sort of tradition, it's the name and the nakshatra which together basically gives identity to the person, which is why we take the name and the nakshatra. So that's the answer to the who question. Probably the most straightforward question. All of you would know the answer. Name for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Nakshatra, if you don't know, you can go look at something called a Panchanga, which is still complex, but you can more easily just ask Google or ChatGPT, give your birth date, and Google will tell you that's the nakshatra for the date. So that's first step, or first part of what Sankalpa is. Second part is what, as in what task are you doing, right? So it could be, let's say, if you're doing typically for any puja in that sense, the first part to the puja after the Sankalpa typically is a Ganesh puja, or a puja that is done for Lord Ganesha, which is the elephant-faced god. Why we do that is because Lord Ganesha is considered as the remover of obstacles. Okay. So for any subsequent task that you are doing, you are just praying to Lord Ganesha to remove the obstacles in whatever is the subsequent task that you are doing, and that's why that's typically the first step, right? So it could well be that you just want to do that. I mean, if you're going to do some task, you just do a initial Ganesha puja, which is just, okay, I'm going to do X, Y, Z, I want no obstacles in that, and so I do a Ganesh puja. So let's assume that as the task example, for instance. So that's the task. So you're going to do a Ganesh puja because you're going to do some other task after that, and you want to remove the obstacles. So that's part 2. So it's what you are doing.
Okay.
Now the third thing is why you are doing it. Okay. So in the case of Ganesh puja, it's because you want to remove obstacles. So that's the why part.
Yeah.
So you're saying, so you typically say that Vigna Harta.
Yeah.
So that's like Vigna as an obstacle, Harta as in not have it. Okay. So Vigna Harta Karam, as in like for not having Vigna Harta, you are doing Ganesha puja. Okay.
Yeah.
That could be your why when you are doing a Ganesh puja. The why could be other different things, right? If you're doing, say, a marriage, it's a different why. If you're doing a entry into a new house, it's a different why. So the why can vary, but then typically why is why you are doing that particular puja.
Okay.
So that's the third part. Now the fourth part and the fifth part are geolocation tagging and time tagging. Okay. So if you look at where, it's essentially a GPS tag. Very simply a GPS tag. It's just that coming to the GPS location comes partly through modern geographical formations, but partly to historical geographical formations. Okay. So to give you the example, now we are in, let's say, Glasgow. Okay. So within a Sankalpa, which is, let's say, done in the temple, you would hear parts of it which you will understand for sure. it will have parts like Scotland Rajya, which is like the Rajya, as
The
like the
country
country.
is Scotland.
Okay, and then we will have Glasgow Nagare, which is the city of Glasgow. Okay, and then you would have heard something called Clyde Nadi Tire, as in Nadi as in river. So Tire is banks. So the main river in this location is Clyde. So Clyde
banks of
Clyde river. Okay. And then you would also have heard Europa Kande, as in Europe, the continent. Okay. Kande is this continent, so this is Europe. And then we are not part of Europe. So there's a donation to the direction of where we are.
Okay.
So we kind of have the specifics of the city name, the sort of location, right? So we'll also talk about Hindu Temple of Scotland, Mandire. So which is the temple is where we are doing it at this point.
The precise
location of where we are.
Okay.
And we will have elements of natural setting, which is why we had the river. Sometimes you also, like when you're kind of, let's say, doing Sankalpa in India, for instance, we kind of, when you're in south of India, we kind of say that it's sort of south of Indians.
Okay.
Right, so it's not just river, it might also be mountain ranges as a geographical tag, and things like that. So it has a nature element to how you identify the location. And then you have the element of dweep. So the sense that a continent concept is a more of a relatively newer concept, right? So the slightly country continent concept is what was called dweep. It's called island, right? So so the larger continent where India is called Jambu Dweepa.
Yeah.
So which is why you would have heard Jambu Dweepe Bharatavarshe.
Yeah, it's a Ramayana one. Yeah.
So which is why India as in Bharat. So Jambu Dweepe Bharatavarshe Bharatakande. Because like Bharatakande, as in like, so instead of Europa Kande, it was Bharatakande because like Indian subcontinent.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bharatavarshe Bharatakande. So Meloho Dakshine Parshve. So it's like we are in the southern, I mean, if you are in the southern part of India, it's like Dakshin. So you are in the southern part of India. So the connotations might differ, but depending on where your geographical location is, you just kind of frame the Sankalpa for that particular geographical location. Okay. So that's the where part. Now the final thing is when, as in when is the puja happening?
Okay.
That's the time tagging part.
Okay.
So when you're thinking about time, one is like time on the watch, okay, and the time as in the date of that of what day you are doing it. But the slight difference there is we are not following a Gregorian calendar in how we arrive at the time. Rather, we are following a Indian calendar at arriving at the time. So the Indian calendar equivalent is what is called as Panchanga.
Okay.
So Pancha as in 5, Anga as in elements.
Okay.
So there are 5 elements to time that we talk about when we talk about the Panchanga. So that's in essence what we have as Sankalpa, which is basically the answer to the who, the what, the why, the where and the when.
Okay.
That's Sankalpa in substance.
Okay. So the first 3 parts were, like relatively easy to understand. Okay, why we are doing it, what we are doing, who is doing it. When it comes about the geotagging location, so if we are talking about, okay, we are doing a puja, okay, it's a relationship between humans and the higher powers. If we, say it simply, layman's words, okay, it's a higher power connection. What is the importance of exactly giving the location that from where is that Sankalpa is being done? So it's like when the universe hears the voice, let's say when the mantra is being chanted or the chants are being done, does that make a difference of exact location of how is it coming, or what is the a larger connection to giving the exact location?
So when we said like it's a determined inclination that you're making, right? So we are kind of saying that after the sort of once we do Sankalpa, the next step typically is Devata Avahana, which is asking Devata to come and be at a particular space. So you're kind of priming up the
invitation.
Arrival, saying like we are doing the puja from XYZ location, and then we are going and inviting Devata to come to that location in that sense, right? So it's sort of that connotation to why you do the
exact. Okay, the geotagging. Okay, so basically we are inviting the deity. We are giving out a signal that okay, I am ready to do something. It's like a determination, and there I am. So if the higher powers are coming to help you out, they know exactly. Okay, this is a connotation.
It's like giving your GPS on your traffic stuff, right? So
Okay, so a lot of sankalpas being done, but this is mine, so I'm there. Thank you, Dr. Sreevas, for explaining the science of Sankalpa in such simple words in the layman's language. And I believe it will help our audience to learn the more about the science and easily understand of why things are done. And also, if they wish to engage, they can come to us and engage in the similar puja, and they can also transform their life, And thank you so much for that. And I would say that please share with your friends if you think that this content will help them. And we look forward for such more content, in-depth knowledge of the science behind the rituals in Hinduism and larger scale, I would say, Sanatana Dharma. Namaskaram.
Namaste.